Okay, what about if the woman's boyfriend or parents are forcing them to get an abortion?
Okay.
Before and after.
Okay. Forcing them to get an abortion by what means?
I don't know.
But by saying, if you don't get an abortion, you're out of this house, or, from the parents' perspective, or maybe the boyfriend's perspective, or, for the boyfriend, if you don't get an abortion, I'm out of here. Is that kind of what you're talking about? So where they feel, in other words, they feel like they're losing their support system.
Right.
And they'd be doing it alone.
Or if you don't get an abortion, I'll stop buying your favorite yogurt.
Okay. Sure.
All the way down to that dumb.
Right. I think, again, this is where the pregnancy support centers and other organizations are needed, and to provide a support for an individual that's in that situation. I know someone, they were told, if you don't get an abortion, you're out of the house.
How old were they?
Teenager.
Okay. That was my question.
Yeah. And so someone else, thank God, offered for them to come and live with them.
How does that work? They're a teenager.
Because it depends on how old you are. Right.
Right.
And so
how does a pregnancy center deal with a teenager that comes to them?
But parents aren't going to tell a 13 or 14-year-old child that.
Get out of my house?
Yeah. They could, but
they might.
Yeah. And if they did, if they did and that situation happened, then that child can find other places to go. And all I'll say is that at that point, it get messy. Because if the child left, then you're getting DFACs involved, and that the government would even have issues with that. I'll put it that way. Now, if you're an older teen, where if you have the individual right to leave the house, right, then that's a whole different topic. You can't just go live with somebody else. You can go move in with someone and allow them to help you, as you're going through the pregnancy.
Okay, so the 13-year-old, what's she doing? She can either get the abortion or deal with all this shit.
Yeah, man. And I get it. If the parents are like, this is going to ruin your life, this is right, man. I get that from the parents' perspective, because it is going to change that person's life. There's no way around it. But again, it doesn't have to change it for the bad. It's going to change it, but it doesn't have to be seen as horrible, right? That child can still go to school and still, do work and that kind of stuff. But then, or not work, but schoolwork. But then obviously at some point the child's going to have to give birth to this baby. And again, I'll say it again. This is where adoption can come in for an unexpected pregnancy like this at that young of an age.
So you're talking to parents of pregnant teenager right now.
If I'm talking
saying put them up for adoption, or put the child up for adoption instead of force her to get an abortion.
Yeah, put that grandbaby up for adoption.
Okay.
Yeah. Encourage your daughter to do that.
Okay.
Yeah. Or if I'm talking to parents of a 13-year-old child who's got pregnant, or I think the most ideal thing would be, hey, parents, if you feel like your child can't, if your child wants to keep, you want to keep the baby, help her raise it. Help her raise that child. And so, but don't kick the child out of the house. That's to me, that's that.
So really, this is more about
that breaks my heart. I can't imagine doing that. I have a 13-year-old daughter, so this isn't like fairy world for me. This is like real. I can't imagine asking my daughter to leave the house over something like this. I can't fathom it. And so, I think that you come up and you provide support and the best you can. And yeah, it's a change, and it can be traumatic and dramatic, but you deal with it, and hopefully you walk with that. You don't just kick the child. You care for the child. And so, yeah, anyway.
Or adoption.
Yeah. And that is a really viable option, because maybe a 13 or 14-year-old is not a place to be able to raise a child.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore adoption can be a great option for them.